What's over, Motzei? Here we are again. It's so nice to have you guys dig into the pies. Also, big hat tip to Jake for sponsoring on Pie Day. The pies over here. We got pumpkin pie. What else? We got apple pie, sweet potato pie. Dig on in. And tonight we're going to do something similar to what we did last week because it was, I think, a really big hit. Instead of just doing a general hishkafa topic, I want to tether the topic to the parsha that we just came out of. And it's a little funny because some of the things that we're going to talk about tonight, Sam, we did at Krau's for the yort site of your father. If you remember, 2 years ago, I believe.
Which is also this week.
So you want to make it in his? You want to sponsor, quote unquote? You want this to be also for him? Does it work this week, or should be next week?
I would love for this to also be.
Can it? Will it work?
Yeah, why not? Within the 3 days, but we do.
I see. Fine. All right. So just say for the recording. Say for the recording, the name is
Nachman Leib ben Shaya Hakayim.
And so it'll be for his merit, for his zechus, for.
I have no problem with next week also being.
All right, we'll make it happen.
Also, 51 weeks.
Also, for those who couldn't be here on the recording, be aware during Ben Izmanim, Jake again stepping up is going to hopefully make a bonfire at Krau's, and happy to give shiur during then. And also at any point during Ben Izmanim, I need to figure out with you guys, because I don't know if Rabbanish is still doing a shmooze or not. If you guys would like to hear one, I'm more than happy probably at one point during the week either to come here, Krau's, Campbell, Stiebel, somewhere to give something. If that works also, then you can get me twice per week. That's like the only real time that I think we have slots or something. But so come out to the bonfire, it's going to be geschmack. Okay, here we go. So we just came out of Vayakhel and Pekudei. And one of the biggest questions that gets raised is, why do we need to spend so much time, yet again, on the Mishkan? We just had Teruma and Tetzava to tell me all the plans of how things are going to be developed and what you needed to build, and then all the big day kahuna, and what am I going to do? And then it was like, okay, so this is all the stuff to build. And then the classic textbook answer is, well, those are the directions. And then in Vayakhel and Pekudei, we learn that this is when they actually were built and constructed. Well, great, then why don't I just have one sentence that says, and then Moshe and Bezalel did as they were instructed. And it's over. So you learn something very, very deep and very, very meaningful, and I'm going to say it over in a small way, not because I don't want this to be the ikar of the shiur, but I want it to be addressed because it's very important. The answer that Rav Emanuel Bernstein shares in his farm, in his shiurim that he shared with me, is that, and this is important for us in life, the Bnei Yisrael that existed before the Chet Egel were dramatically different than the Bnei Yisrael that existed post the Egel. What do I mean by that? What do I mean by that?
I mean, we had the Keter, right? The Nasiv Nishma, and we were on a higher Madrig and we lost it with Chet Egel.
Very good. So the Bnei Yisrael might have looked the same, but post Chet, we needed a different kind of Mishkan.
Yeah, sure.
The Bnei Yisrael that were given the first instructions, again, depends on whether you hold Ein Muktam Mukha B'Torah, chronology, all this. For this vort, for how we're going in the direction of where we're going to go, this is the Mahalach. So anybody who has a time on the recording, yes, I'm masking. There are other opinions out there also. But this is the way we're going for this year, for the shmuz at this stage. The Bnei Yisrael that were before the Chet were on a higher madrega. They were operating on a plane of existence that was far more supernal, far more superior than those after the Chet Egel.
Right, sure.
And you'll see just in the wording of shtei versus shnei kruvim, and in subtleties, in all of what's in the wordings of descriptions of the ideas and of the things that were created, there's differences. And I believe it's the Ohel Yehoshua. In Sefer Ohel Yehoshua, Jersh 1, it talks about these in great depth and in great length to talk about how it is that, like, what is this difference? And Lamaisa, the TLDR, the too long didn't read version is, hello, we are on a lower madrega now. Yeah. And so we need a more minhago sha'olam based Mishkan. We need a more, oriented around who we are Mishkan. So that brings us to a Gemara and Brachas where we're talking about Bezalel speaking to Moshe. It's very classic. We've done this one in the past also. If you don't know it, shame on you at this point. So At this point, and if you don't, well then okay, you'll learn it now. You'll learn it now. But everybody in the room, I think, was okay. At least I think maybe not Eliro, but I think everybody has heard it at least from me. And if not, they've probably seen it before. Probably seen it before in brachas, and I think almost everyone in the recording also too. So the Gemara says, Amar Shmuel bar Nachmani, right? Amar Rabbi Yonatan, and it goes into a whole big thing about Moshe Rabbeinu telling Bezalel effectively how to construct the Mishkan. And he says, I want you to build all of the Kalim. I want you to build the Aron. I want you to build the Menorah. I want you all the Kalim. Yeah. And then build the Mishkan. And then Bezalel says, wait a minute, Moshe Rabbeinu, Minhaga Sha'olam, the way the world is, for you to build the house first, build the bayis first, build the bayit first, and then put all the Kalim inside of it. And then what happens? What's the classic response that Moshe says back to Bezalel? You must have been B'tzel Kel. You must have been B'tzel Kel. You must have been in the shadow of God. You must have been in the shadow of God. Moshe Rabbeinu says back. And the answer is that's exactly right. So there's two approaches to this of understanding what's going on here. We'll tie it all back to everything, and we're going to build up. The main crux of what we're going to do tonight is to build up how the Mishkan is literally what we're supposed to be modeling everything that we do after. Because we say V'asuli Mikdash v'shekante b'tocham. That wasn't just then. That's now. We need to make a mikdash for Kadosh Baruch Hu to dwell inside of us by having all of the things that the Kalim symbolized and were inside of us. So, but in order to know that, we need to know the order. Because how do we order what we're going to put inside of ourselves? And what do we do? So we don't first make our bias. Maybe back then on a higher madrega, before the Chet Egel, maybe we could have handled something like that. But even then, the instructions were to build the bias. Yeah. The bias that you build is everything. What is the spiritual foundation and bias that you're building for your Ruchani life? What are you, before you spend time diving into the Tosfos, diving into the learning, do you have the four corners of your home all worked out? Are you okay emotionally? Are you okay physically? Have you taken care of yourself? Do you have what's physically needed in the world to thrive? Or are you just hiding behind the Kalim that are just going to get shattered and broken if you don't build that bias? So you have to start. You have to start from all of the things in order to build it up beautifully. And what did we build from? We built from crushing. We did this also, Sam, if you remember. But this is also the same exact thing that we have to tie in for this was especially this time of year with this cover of guys and with everybody else too. We have the crushing. And what is a keresh? Oh, there he is. Great to see you. Come on out.
Oh.
So we have the... Nice. Look at that.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
This is
look at that.
one notes that Yaakov was going to give to us.
There you go.
It was misplaced by one of the Yeladim.
So dig in. Oh boy. All right. So, and I owe you the second copy also. Okay. So here we are. We're digging into what is it to build our bias, what is it to build the Mishkan inside of us, and who we are, and understanding the differences between Vayakhel and Pekudei, and the differences between the beginnings when we had Perum and Tetzaveh. We said many different things, but right now we're on the Krushim. We said you have to build the bias first and then put the Kalim inside of it, just like Bezalel was able to say to Moshe Rabbeinu. And we don't say that Moshe was wrong, by the way. Rav Lopiansky says a beautiful thing in the name of the Gra, where it's almost like a seal. Where you we didn't say this in the past, where you have a seal, like a stamp of something on a signet. When I look at that in a certain way, that looks one way to me. But if I flip it over and I see the imprint on the opposite side, it looks different. It's the flip around. Moshe was not necessarily wrong. He was just looking at it from Hashem's perspective instead of ours. That's why he says, Minhaga Sha'olam, the way of the world is to do this first. So that's the flip. You can argue Moshe Rabbeinu might have been mistaken, but I think the flip is a more favorable approach. And I like that idea of the seal and the stamp that the Gra says. And I saw this in Rav Lopiansky, one of his farm that talks about it. So it's important to know, always to be able to down the chavzukus and see the flip side of the seal imprint on things. But anyway, so for us down here, we need to build the bias first, which was made of crushing, beams. But what is a keresh? It's nothing more than reordering the letters Kuf, Resh, and Shin from Shin, Kuf, Resh.
What does Keresh mean?
Keresh is a beam. The beams, the actual beams of the bias that was the Mishkan.
I don't want to detract so much, but I read in Sefer Ezra, either an art scroll or the Rav Hirsch's grandson, because it was those are the two comments I read for Ezra. Koresh, the king, Darius II with Koresh, the one that rebuilt the temple. The commentary said the exact same thing. If you reorient the letters of Koresh, it means kosher.
Very nice. Oh, like a knot.
Kosher.
Very nice.
So the Koresh, the king that allowed the Jews to rebuild the base of Mikdash, is kosher. He was.
I like that.
So
I kasher, you want to say?
I heard what you're saying.
But just be aware, kasher is spelled a little differently, right? Kasher is with the instead of the.
Was it the knot one or the?
Or do you mean a knot? Oh, like a knot? That's also. So like a unifier, you want to say?
Did
like
Koresh and kosher? It's the same letters, right?
Yeah. That's true. That's true. But not
Depends on which kosher.
Right. It depends. Are we talking about a knot or a valid?
Listen,
right.
A
knot would be
whichever one.
This kind of kosher is a chav.
Right.
All right. Whichever
for the food, it would be a
art scroll said.
I like that. Okay, but so like this. So for this, we're ordering kuf reish shin from shin kuf reish. In life, we need to take the sheker that we have inside of ourselves and carve that into something beautiful to the point that it can be the beam that holds up our Mishkan. That's our starting point. So I wish Ben was here. Ben, if you're on the recording, you asked last time, you said, what's up with using my past? Do I have to shuck my past as a Baal Tshuva? Or even as an FFB, by the way. People have checkered past. It doesn't matter who you are. No, you don't reject your past. You carve it up into something beautiful. You take the sheker of your existence and you make it into a keresh. Lots of them. How do you do that? That's for you to figure out with a mentor after shiur or whoever it might be. But you have to figure out what it is about your past existence that wasn't so halig. Carve it into something that was, and that becomes the foundation of your spiritual bias. And then you could put all the kalim in the Mishkan. Now let's do some kalim. Now again, the whole point of this is that v'asuli mikdash v'shechanti b'tocham is not just something cute, cool, nice for back in the day. It's for now. Where else in Torah do you see 4 parshas? Okay, yes, we had the Lamates Malachas also, but where else do you see 4 parshas dedicated to something? You don't. And yet people are like, architectural blueprints, nice diagram in the art scroll, I have a nice big fancy thing with the color code of what the Mishkan's good. It's not even the Beit HaMikdash. We're not rebuilding this ever again. We're not building this. We have different plans, you know? We're not going to be building a Mishkan again. So why are we spending and investing so much time and effort? 4 parshas. We're not talking Gemaras here. 4 parshas are dedicated to this for a reason. Because you're supposed to live this Torah. You're supposed to understand it deeply. And yes, there are subtle nuances, like we said in the Sefer Oli Yoshua talks about, with shtei versus shnei krushim and all these other things, and keruvim, I think it was. But like, this is your life. So when it says make an aron, you better be learning Torah every day. Because that aron is the Torah that you have. And don't just think, oh, well, I'm involved in now my Shnayim Mikra, because I'm supposed to be. No. There are 2 things in your Mishkan, that represent Torah. One's the menorah, and that was illumination, and that does represent the oral law. But you also had the Aron, which represents the actual Torah Shabbat. And we should be learning both with depth and with clarity and understanding. And so there's a reason. It's like these parshas are shouting out to you that this is a hashkafa shmuz, right? Like, it's saying this is a growth-oriented parsha. Here I am. Listen to me, you know? The only other time you'll see so much repetition, usually that I remember, is within one parsha by the Nesiim about all the gifts that they brought to teach you a beautiful vort on individuality. Because every single one of them brought the same thing, but they all brought it with different intentions. They all brought it in different ways. They all brought themselves to what they did. That's a beautiful vort on why you could dress the same way, by the way, and all be equally different. You could go to BMG and see tons of people in black and white, and yet until you dial into the neshama of the person, you'll never know. That's how you could bring the same core. Okay, but back to this. So we have all the different camps. So tonight we're going to go through just some of them and understand like what we need to put inside ourselves. So we need to put inside ourselves, first of all, we have to build the bias just like B'Tzalel told us to do, right? Minhag Olam is to do what? Build your krushim, fix up all your stusim. Hopefully, fix up all the sheker in your life. Hopefully we've done a lot of that work in yeshiva. If we didn't, hopefully we're now doing that in the Chabura. And those of us also who are married, if we didn't do it in the Chabura, hopefully we're still doing it in our marriages. Yeah? And as Rabbi Yosef Lin, my mashgiach, he used to always say, if you don't work on it now, Rabbosai, it will schlep to your marriage. If you don't work on it in your marriage, it's going to schlep to your kids. Right. And then, Boker Tov, Rabosa, you've passed on bad midos from generation to generation. It was the most earth-shattering, scary thing he's ever told us. I hold on to it every day, and I try very hard to remember this. If I don't work this out in myself or in my marriage, it's going to get to my kids, and then you are proliferating bad news bears for the rest of... All the way until, and so when we work on ourselves, and this is the funniest thing. I'll see people, and none of them are on the recording, I don't think, none of them are here, I don't want to speak to anybody, eyes closed again, but you'll see people, that are like, I learn Musar every day, I'm doing my Motzei Shabbat, I'm involved in my whatever my Musar shmooze is, I go and I see my Musar, but it's only intellectualized. They're like, I learned Musar, but did it reach your heart? Right, there's a big Baal Musar once said the longest journey is from the head to the heart. You could travel all over the whole entire world, but the longest journey is really taking an idea from the head and putting it into the heart, right? Because if you don't internalize, how are you going to actually do it? You look like you have a kasha or a question. Yeah, or you hear it? Yeah, I mean, how are you supposed to internalize the message? I can learn it all day long, and yes, it might, like Rabbi Akiva style, drip, drip, drip on the rock. But really, at the end of the day, if I haven't done the inner work to figure out how to be a better me, if I haven't seen this is the version of who I am right now, and you didn't set a goal for this is the version of who I want to be, and then you made small steps to get there, you missed everything. You missed everything. You have to understand that there's a level of change that has to take place. There's a level of growth that has to take place. It's not just this is fun. There's a life that I'm living with purpose and direction and meaning and mission. And when it's directed, everything is a game changer. So that's what we have to do. And the Parsha is yelling at us almost, gently, to put all these kalim inside of who we are. And when we do that, that's how we live a purposeful, uplifted, holy life. And so now we said briefly, we have the Krushim, which is reorienting all the sheker into a keresh, a beam that can hold up the spiritual foundation of who we are, which means not rejecting your past. It means taking the good from it and imbuing it with spiritual kedusha. Yeah, I always joke that I was in the punk rock movement when I was, in my younger years, when I had hair and it was green and I had a leather jacket and, Mr. Weinberg could show you some pictures and I would go to all different shows and I would jump in the mosh pits, right? And that would be the thing. And that was me. You can never imagine that now, right? But that's what I did, Dead Kennedys, Sex Pistols, The Clash, The Ramones. We can throw all the real names out there. None of this Green Day nonsense, by the way. They're not real. They're not real.
Agreed.
None of this, they're all the pop stuff. So anyways, I would go to the ska shows with the Real Big Fish and, who else? Oh, Mighty Mighty Bosstones, at least they're like third wave, but fine. All these guys, Big D and the Kids Table, you're like, what are you talking about? But I would be there. Now, and you might think that you have to reject all that. Do I listen to any of that music? Very rarely. But if you see me at a chasna, unfortunately I got sick and I couldn't go to Dan Nakamovich, couldn't give him the Shabbat bracha I was hoping to give him anyway. I wish I could have, but Lamaisa, if you see me at a wedding, God willing, at Nathan Zager or other places, you will see me when it's shtick time. I have this high jump that I do. If you reach out to Mr. Binstein, he has the biggest picture ever of me with my legs out. You see, you can makadish what you've done in your past and bring it into your now. And so I use my punk rock for excitement and joy at a wedding. That's taking just one mice example of an example of how I take my sheker and make it into a keresh. Again, you do have to make it a keresh. I don't listen to 95% of that stuff, right? A lot of it would not be good for me right now. Every so often, you can't forget who you are. So sure, I'll pop on a song every so often, but very rarely, But do I dance to the chasam like that? Of course, that's the example of how you take your keresh. Okay, we said you got to learn Torah every day. Not just that you have to learn the Gemara, you have to learn Chumash with Rashi, great, but it's not just Shnai Mikra. Learn it with depth, and we said in the past, carry around a commentary with you every year. Have a new one that you go through. When I saw Rabbi Coopersmith, the big before he passed away, Rabbi Cooperman, the big Rabbi Cooperman, the uncle of Emanuel Bernstein, we went to him, he told Amit Friedlander, he said, Amit said, how do I learn Chumash better? I'm on my Gemara all day. I have all this. How do I make sure that I learn a Chumash better? Because it's just Shnai Mikra. He's like, carry around a new commentary with you every single year. Go through Rashi, go through Ramban, and little by little. I mean, obviously, if you're learning with a head, you'll remember some things that'll pop up. Yeah, and you'll be like, oh, that's what he said. That's the Aron. Put an Aron inside of your Mishkan. Next is you got to learn a Gemara. Jake, I love you. You got to learn a Gemara a little bit. Got to do it. Gotta do it. Or a Mishnah. Yeah, it could be. You gotta have the oral on you too, because it wasn't just the Torah Shebektav that's there. And we have to make sure that we're illuminating the whole world. We gotta learn to, if I have to delete it, let me know. Hopefully it's okay to push back after 2 or 3 years of doing this now, you know. But like, I think at the end of the day, we gotta learn Gemara, boys. If we're not learning Gemara, we're missing the boat. Why? Because what's the Gemara? I just cited a Gemara to start the whole shiur with. We wouldn't have known about the Betzalel thing in the back of the... You miss out on this, like, beautiful tradition of a Gadata, this rich understanding and appreciation of the halachic conversations that go back and forth. We talked about, why do I have to learn a Gemara? Because when you learn a Gemara, you're going to a place where you have no light or clarity. It's a place of total darkness to you. And for most of us, there's no vowels in our Gemara. We're not using the Tuviyas. We're not in Yeshiva anymore. Tuviyas Gemara with the vowels. We're in Nakudas, no Nakudas here. You're learning it with hard language, hard concepts, no vowels, no punctuation. You're going to a place of light without much light, and it's total darkness to begin with. Stam. And then let me battle out all the different opinions once I try to even reach the... It's hard to even get a good flavor of it before I can even start, you know? It almost tastes like you have to rip off this klipa and this klipa and this klipa just to even approach the Gemara, if you think about it. But you got to do that because that's life. In life, you have to tear off all the klipas before you get to something that might be good inside. Yeah.
Just guys, a question.
Yeah, sure.
I understand when I learn. Sometimes I feel like I want to learn a bunch of stuff, but I'm trying to learn Gemara right now, and then I'm trying to get back, maintain some kind of a Musar Seder, and then I want to maybe try and get back into Tanakh, but then I also I know I need to learn Chumash, and I'm like, how do I balance it? I feel like it's a lot.
Great.
And,
no.
How do I
Very good. So again, I don't think at any point Hashem said, make for me a mikdash today. Right now, you know what I mean? Yeah. So again, I think we've answered this question in the past. I think Jared also. I'll say like this: you have a whole lifetime to put all these kalim in you.
Fair, okay. Yeah,
so if you have a system of prioritization, a system of I have more time to do A, B, C now than I do D, E, F, you'll be fine. If you approach life like I got to do all this stuff all the time, right now, immediately. You will be passed out on the floor, overwhelmed, and it will not be successful. Yeah. So the way to be matzliach with all of this is to focus really well on one of them usually. Okay. Maybe two of them, depending. Like right now in the Chabura, you have a unique opportunity to put, which we'll get to in a minute, is the shulchan. You have a real great opportunity to put a shulchan into your Mishkan. Fair. And also probably the Aron, or the what do you call it, or the menorah for the illumination of all things. Meaning you have time to figure out what you want to do, but it's just a vision to know how to put it in. Or you could be doing it in slow spurts, slow steps, you know what I mean? So little by little. So that's that. Now, the shulchan. What do you think? What do you think the shulchan represents?
So the parnasa.
Very good. This is what's really funny to me. And again, forgive me, but I'm on the record, and I'm fine to be on the record about this. We have a Vorten Legacy of Light all about it. Which is called, I think, building your shulchan or making your shulchan, something like that. Did Rashi have a business? What did he do? What did Rashi do for a living? He was a vintner. He made wine. What did the Ramban do? What did the Rambam do?
He's a doctor.
He was a doctor. Thank you. And if you go through all of the greatest of the great people, and I'm not just saying back in the day, if you Rishonim, Achron, all. Yeah, I forget who it was, but somebody even was like the chief financial officer or something for somebody back.
Barbanel.
Yeah, thank you. The Barbanel, big, humongous people. The Barbanel, you go through an entire Barbanel, how did you know so? And look what he did with his life. We still need to make parnasa for our families. Don't think that because I'm a part of... I have to watch myself on this one. We are on the record. I'm a part of a community that champions learning in a very, very big way. That comes at the expense of the fact that I have to also work. Yeah? You're going to be... There are people who will call you a balabas. They just will.
Oh, yeah.
And whether you are or you're not, it's not because they called that to you. It's whether or not you approach your learning with seriousness or not. So don't worry what other people will call you. You very well might be. But that's not bad either. What would be bad is if you lived an inauthentic tachlis. We talked about this from the Gemara in Chagiga, in the Gemara in Chagiga, which says that Kadosh Baruch Hu cries over a person who is working when he should be learning and learning when he should be working. Meaning, your kids are crying and you need to be, busy with them, and you're over there saying, no, I'm learning, leave me alone. And your wife is like jumping all over, like having to deal with the problem. Or worse, I'm now putting myself into kollel full time when HaKadosh Baruch was like, but you're really supposed to be making parnasa now. Like, what are you doing? Like,
Wear your shoes.
Wear your shoes. We've talked exactly. From the Netziv, 100%. And that is a big plug for a book I would like to recommend to everybody who hasn't read it yet. It's in English, another Rav Lipyansky. If you haven't read Ben Torah for Life, do so. Now. While you're still in the Chabura, pick it up, read it. It's going to teach you how do I have a life dedicated to being a Ben Torah, still learning, still being stark, but yet I still make money for my family. Okay. Put a shulchan in your Mishkan. If you don't, you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
To the single guys that are here, your wife's going to want you to work, at least in the beginning. It's a davar pasha, right? And maybe I'm wrong that you might be finding somebody who wants you to be a learning person, but 95% of the time, the people who we are surrounded by, even if you are a learning person, you're going to have to transition out. That's Ben Yeshiva. That's the other book from Rav Lipyansky, but I'm emphasizing a different one. At some point you're going to be a guy who leaves the learning world and now has to make parnasa for his family. Put a shulchan in your Mishkan. You're being asked to do so right in the Torah. And yet these aren't considered mitzvahs, right? There's no commandment that says you must work. There might be an argument by Rabbi Gershenfeld about a whole bunch of other different things. There's different sources that say you have to go out to work. Maybe yes. But these ones, when it comes to at least the Rebbe, if you're listening, at least these ones when it comes to the Mishkan, don't say that. But your ketubah absolutely does say so.
Oh, for sure.
Your ketubah directs you. And I'm pretty sure everybody would agree that that's a pretty much binding agreement here. Now, let's say you can't get a job. Let's say I'm struggling to get a job. Okay, that's one thing, you're trying. Or let's say you did a job for 8 years in your marriage of 11 years. That's one thing also. Then you transition with to something else. That's also fine. Build your mikdash and that's everything in it. That's the same thing Jared was saying. It doesn't have to be that at every moment you're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Just make sure you put these things put these kalim inside your Mishkan at some point. And then let's do some of the components of the Mishkan. And then I think we'll close for the night. I'll take questions and we'll wrap up. The Mishkan had things in it. This is from Rav Hirsch, about gold, silver, and copper. Is gold refined? Yes. Yeah. Gold is the highest level of a material. All of it's, I think it's unalloyed. It has all of the impurities are taken out of it. Silver is a little bit less refined, but it's still pretty good. And bronze is very unrefined. Yeah. There's a lot of impurities in bronze. Yeah. Although, ironically, the bronze was like right on the bottom, holding up the whole entire everything. Right. But, and because you need all of it, but we are trying and striving to be gold-oriented people. Mm-hmm. Rav Hirsch teaches us that we want to be more refined. We have to uplift ourselves. We need to grow. How do we do that? By refining our midos, by striving actively. And it's not only through learning. So forgive me if this is not exactly the Or Sameach derech, or perhaps even other people's derech, which is going to be, if I'm just in front of the Gemara, I'm going to change into a better person. And sometimes you'll see that. But I'm saying that I think a person needs to put in a smidgen more effort than just I sat in front of my night seder with Rav Bilowitz for an hour, or I went to the Motzei Shmuz, or I went to Rav Banish's halacha shiur, right? It has to be that I'm now actively investing in myself to grow, to be a more gold person, opposed to, copper or silver. And it's also good to know, don't beat yourself up, have self-esteem. This is a life journey. Mm-hmm. This is not something about, I'm not where I need to be. No. Hashem put you where you are because that's where you have to be. It's not, I want to be here. No, Hashem put you there because that's where you have to be, You need to figure out, how do I operate in this world and still grow day by day? Now, again, I'm talking to myself. I fail all the time. I fail all the time at this. And yet, at least I know a little bit to hopefully guide. But I think we put together a whole amalgamation of things to appreciate what the ikar and essence of who we are is. We said there's two versions of Bnei Yisrael. You have a before Chet Egel, a tormented Sava, and then we have a Vayakhel and Pekudei. We have to recognize, where are we? Where are we holding in the world right now of where I can build my Mishkan? Yeah? And sometimes my Mishkan might feel like I can't put too much into it right now. I can't really build my beams right now because I got so many other external forces going on, right? But if you don't put up your rain-resistant covering, which was the I think it was the black one, which was all of the hair, the goat hair, right? You put up the covering that's going to shield your Mishkan from damage and destruction. That's huge. If you don't have that either, you might as well not put any kalim in it yet, right? Depending on the ordering of things. But put up your krushim, build yourself, build the world, and reach new heights. We should be zocha to take all of the different components in the Mishkan, put them inside of ourselves, the symbolism of what they were, grow from it, recognize that these are not just an architect's parshas, these are like real hashkafas, real ideas of who to be, Musar-oriented things, and grow. All right, questions, comments, reactions, still on the record. Questions, comments, anybody?
We had Shimon Tzitzaveh while we're still on a high level. Mm-hmm. We need another one because we're a different Kol Yisrael afterwards.
Yes,
but the instructions are the same. It would seem that.
Oh, so you came in at a different point. So there are in Sefer Ohel Yehoshua, there's a beautiful distinction that's brought out between. At least I'll give one example. It says Shnei Keruvim versus Shtei Keruvim. Mm-hmm. You'll see subtle nuances. There are not exactly carbon copies, and so there are a lot of. Vorts that come out, drushes that are made, different things that are understood by Mefarshim and Chazal and etc. V'chuli to explain like, no, this is what it meant for then and this is what it meant for there. Meaning it's not an exact cut and paste. Therefore you see that there are distinctions. And so while you're building basically the same things, your intentions are different, the makshavas are different, and they have to be done in a different way. They can't be done in this Moshe Rabbeinu, build the Kalim first way. They have to be done in this Betzalel, put the bias around first.
For Kedegel, we've been on a level to build the Kalim first and the bias around it. Or?
So it's interesting. I don't think we were instructed to do that either, right? I think even back then, maybe you're right. You could very well be right. Maybe back then even we weren't on a Madrega to do that too. Could be. But at least the subtle nuances of the little pieces that go into things are where they make the drush on that. Yeah. So Rabosai, happy Pie Day. Thank you again to Jake for sponsoring all the pies.
Pie Day.
And we should appreciate who we are. We should grow to be our best selves. All right? Chazak Baruch.